WGSO News Talk Radio and Tracy in the Afternoon. For a man who looks like Tyrone Power, is married to the stunning young model in the Virginia Slims and Clairol ads, and earns 6 figures a year, John Zachary Delorean certainly doesn't smile much. He can't. Not just yet, anyway. The reason is simple. The most important project in his life is yet to be accomplished. There will be no rest for Delorean until he finishes doing what no one else in the history of modern business has dared attempt: to design, build, and sell his very own automobile from scratch. At stake are thousands of jobs for unemployed Catholics in Belfast, the wisdom and reputation of the British government, which amid howls of protest has bet about $106 million on this flamboyant engineer, and about another $40 million posted by several hundred U.S. car dealers and other investors, ranging from Merrill Lynch stockbrokers to Johnny Carson. John, welcome to Tracy in the Afternoon.
Yeah, it's good to be here, Eric.
And welcome to New Orleans. Are you enjoying our fair city?
Yeah, I must say, it's very, very elegant.
What I just read is about 8, 9 months old. How much of it is factual?
Well, it's all grossly exaggerated, obviously. You also didn't leave me anything else to say when you got all through with it.
I found the article fascinating and your life to be fascinating. The DMC12, it's more than a dream now. It's just months away from being a reality, isn't it?
Yeah, we've actually built about 14 cars in our operations there. We're starting to train our supervision, and we'll be in actual production in July. We'll have cars on dealer showrooms by new car announcement time this fall.
You left General Motors with a bad taste in your mouth.
Oh, no, I don't have a bad taste in any way. GM was very good to me. Of course, I rose much further than I ever thought I would in my lifetime, and I actually got a tremendous amount out of it. I was given a great number of opportunities. So I have very good feelings about General Motors, and I feel I made a significant contribution to their success also.
But didn't they withhold hundreds of thousands of dollars of bonus money that was due you?
Well, that's people. People and companies are really two different things. I have as I say, great affection for GM. Certain individuals there obviously have a certain amount of jealousy, and I'm sure that's been a problem.
If General Motors wanted to, could they prevent you, through internal and external pressure, from producing the DMC?
Oh, I would say that in maybe 7 or 8 minutes they could terminate our activity.
They really could?
Sure, they're tough. I think we should be rigid about it at this point. See, I don't want to sell to anybody any cheaper than I'm selling you. This is our primary market. Everything else we're going to look at as plus.
The way we're structured is basically our cost anyway. There isn't that much difference.
Right, and that's the way it ought to be. Gentlemen, if we can call the meeting to order now. I must say I'm quite impressed with the reactions that we've been getting here at the dealer convention in New Orleans, and what I'd like to do is discuss briefly with those of you that have spent some time on the floor talking to our dealers here what some of your reactions are. Maybe you could start off, Dick. What kind of feeling are you getting now?
Enthusiasm seems to be as high a pitch or higher than it was in the previous convention. The reaction that we're getting from our dealers, as you know, we've signed 329 dealers coming into the convention, and I think the best I can gather from yesterday's activity, we've got several commitments, should approximate 15 or 20 commitments, which is very strong.
The one encouraging thing, as far as I was concerned, was the price that the dealers felt that this car could command in the marketplace. They felt it was now in a price bracket that was in the region of about $30,000, which to me, as far as our business plan was concerned, was very encouraging.
Imagine you rubbed your hands together when you heard that.
Mac McGritter from Palm Springs, California. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Hey, I got 44 orders.
That's incredible.
Yeah. You can't believe how many of those we can sell down here in Palm Springs.
That's a hell of a lot for that market.
Of course, you're going to have to come down there and kind of rest a little bit in that nice thing. We'll play a little golf, all right? All right? All right.
You look younger every time I see you. How do you do that?
No, we're going to do that.
How'd you beat us here? Hi, John.
John? Yeah.
How are you?
How are you?
Fine.
45 orders. Doris wants one. That's my wife.
Well, she gets the last one, right?
Last one, yeah. Not the first one, but the last one.
We're accepting applications for direct dealer sales agreements. We plan on distributing our products through a small group of dealers, approximately 150 to 400 of them in all 50 states. Our requirements are the dealer or his dealer associates must own $25,000 in Delorean Motor Company common stock.
Jack, Dave Oakley from Bartlesville. Talk to him.
Gene Williams had someone call me. Was that you?
Right. Absolutely. Right.
I've been getting a nice presentation on the car and the stock options and situations of that nature.
As you know, we need a dealer in Bartlesville. Right.
At least following through, and I understand we have to decide this month. That's
February 29th is the last day, right?
When you say low-level serial production, how many, say, per month beginning in August?
We haven't finalized that yet.
Have you decided yet what kind of a warranty is going to be available with the car?
No, we're working on that, but it'll certainly be very competitive.
For example, will there be like a service contract with a group like the American Warranty Corporation?
We're looking at all of those.
Seems like you've got a lot of unanswered questions for a car that's about to go into production.
No, we're talking about having quite a few months here yet to resolve some of those things.
Well, there's no question that you've got a beautiful car there. It reminds me a lot of a Lotus Esprit, and I guess that's not surprising since it was designed by...
No, I don't think it looks like a Lotus at all.
What does it remind you of?
It's unique. Doesn't remind me of anything that's ever been done before.
Corvette or Porsche?
No, doesn't look like any of those.
Not even a bit like a Lotus?
No, I don't see where the similarity is to Lotus. Lotus is a different automobile.
The basic car was done by Delorean Motor Company in conjunction with Giugiaro.
Yeah.
And the concept of the gull-wing doors and the stainless steel body and so on was originally evolved by John Delorean, and what we have done is adapt the engineering side of it, the chassis and the suspension and the details to suit that concept.
The chassis remembers me on the chassis of my Lotus Elan.
Well, as you see, the chassis has a very Lotus-like design, but then this is what we understand and which we believe works well.
Yeah.
And it's very nice to see John Delorean productionizing it and producing it in such large volumes.
Yeah.
Taking the worst case, we'll make about 90 million in a normal year, and the best case, we'll make 200 million. So it's a pretty good business. And if the sterling goes down and cars sell,
Even better.
we'll accidentally make so much money we can't count it.
What was the reaction to the paper?
It was sensational.
Phenomenal, really.
Yeah, it's all, they're just desperate to get cars now. And most of the dealers have already taken somewhere between 40 and 100 orders with deposits, and they've suddenly found out that one of our Houston dealers has taken 102 orders with $1,000 deposits, and he's not paying any interest. He said, "You really ought to delay building a car." He said, "I'm making more money on the interest." This Pinot fuel tank is really changing the way people think. They now want to make it a criminal offense for an executive. If you know that something is defective, you don't have to have passed on it, but if you didn't object to it, then that becomes a criminal offense. If you're honest about it, that's a stupid design. As you recall, in that instance, they saved a piece of sheet metal this big by using the top of the tank for the trunk floor. Absolutely. Now, by doing it that way, they also mounted the tank with just plain screws into the edge, so that you also save the retaining straps. I would guess that, $5, $6 a car is what they saved. But everybody in the world has always been concerned about not having a separate barrier between the fuel system and the passenger compartment. And in the end, the damage that does to Ford's integrity as a manufacturer, and the fact that the Pinot itself is dead, it's ridiculous. Yeah. When you get all through that, they didn't save, not only didn't save any money, it's going to have cost them a bloody fortune.
Out of proportion to any potential saving.
And you knew it when you did it. We looked at it, everybody did. That was a shock to all of us in the industry. And of course, as an engineer, you got hell for it. They said, well, look at the cost study says, here you are building a Nova and your price is this, and look at Ford saved all this dough. Now, why don't you do that? You know how managements are. So you had to defend yourself against it.
not even by quarter of an inch, half an inch. Very, very good indeed. So you've got the crushability right at the front end, good 27 inches, which is what we're looking for to get the maximum deceleration inside the car. And the passenger cab itself is totally undamaged. Now the chassis, in this particular case, is a stainless one.
Now, you're going to have a mock-up of the window thing in here sometime in a week or so.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, we really need your considered judgment on that, because if we're on the wrong track, we better do something in a hurry. That's the thing that worries me the most. As I said, the two problems I'm most concerned about are water leakage and making sure that window thing is right. On the prototype, the only thing that I didn't like too much was the intrusion into the door opening. Well, it wasn't polished and professional. We really have to look at how we do that. Where you've got your
from the two latch system.
And I don't object to the two latches are fine, but we've got to find a way to make that all look like it goes together a little better. I think it's just how you blend and everything. How do you feel about our ceiling now?
A little happier, but I shall feel a lot happier when we've got a lot more cars built and running on it.
This car has been one of the biggest talking points, not only in the car industry in Ireland, but indeed throughout the world. Now it's come about, of course, the Delorean car, and we're not only delighted to have it in the studio tonight on view to the general public for the first time, but we're equally pleased that John Delorean himself has been able to come into the studio to give us generally a run around the car and talk about some of the finer points. I must say, Mr. Delorean, I've only seen it for about the last half hour thereabouts. It's something I think a lot of us could get very used to. How much of you is actually in this car?
Well, really quite a bit, Gloria. I've been, obviously I've been working on this for over 5 years now, and many of the concepts are ideas that I've generated throughout my business life in General Motors for about 20 years. And they're things that I've always wanted to do, something I believed in very much, and so this is really representative of many of those thoughts and concepts.
What do you think of our automobile?
I don't see hard complaint, to be honest. It's just a look at it there. It's got charisma, and it has.
We just came from our dealer convention in the States in New Orleans, and the reaction was spectacular. The only thing now is for all of us to do our jobs and to be sure that we do it professionally. If the car is as good as a consumer thinks it should be, we're never going to have a problem. It's just got to be, we just got to do it right, I guess is the real question.
It doesn't look just like a model. It looks like a real entity.
No, that is a real car.
Oh, it's something, yes.
The idea is that we build in a team spirit, rather than just simply a car that nobody wants to know anything about. This is your car. This is R3's car or R10's car. Okay, so that's in there, and the final part will be chassis. So in another month's time, this will be a mini assembly situation.
You're using these things instead of a conveyor belt?
We're using those instead of a conveyor belt, Jimmy. That's right. We've no pits in this factory. You're not going to ask men to get under a car and get dripped with oil or anything like that.
Well, we put the two together, the desire for success here and the desire for your success.
This is going to be a very successful project.
And that is the finish now. They'll all be like that. You won't have varied.
That's truly representative of what will be produced. Sort of goes back to Henry Ford's old thing. You can have any color you want as long as it's black. Well,
That's
here
right.
it is. Yeah. As long as it's stainless, you can have any color you want.
There'll be 3 interior colors. And what about corrosion and that without any paint protection?
Well, the stainless is totally non-corrosive. In fact, we're going to offer a 25-year body warranty, which we haven't told British Steel yet, but they're going to stand behind it. We're going to explain that to them when we sign our final contract.
Will he be driving?
I'm not quite sure whether John's going to run.
This is the first time it's been driven?
Absolutely. Driven? No. First time
apart from the test pilots?
That's right. That's the first. Well, certainly first. I'm not quite sure the actual facts whether it was driven in New Orleans or not. Certainly the first time, obviously in Northern Ireland.
Driven in Northern Ireland. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
The Daily Express, August 1979. Mr. Delorean, 56, failed to push his scheme in 2 other countries. The Irish Republic refused him because they said their taxpayers would be taking too much risk. Puerto Rico gave him much the same reply. The British government, however, agreed within 45 days.
Because you have so much public money invested in the Delorean plant, you have been subjected to an incredible amount of scrutiny and indeed of criticism. How do you feel about that criticism?
Well, I've got a pint of blood for every pound that the British have in it, so I don't know. I think we're all about even there.
Projects of this kind, new projects, a brand new design of a car, is bound to be risky. It is bound to cost a lot of money. On the other hand, if you've got the expertise behind the car, which Mr. Delorean has got with all his staff, and if it provides employment in an area of Northern Ireland where things are notoriously difficult, and if there seems to be a reasonable chance of success, and other people are putting their money in too, like the dealers are, then it seems to be us to be worth a go. Now, it started, of course, before the government, of which I'm a member, came into office, but there it is, and all of us wanted to succeed.
Well, I, of course, been in the car business for about 25 years. The most notable, I guess, the thing I'm best known for is my affiliation with Mazda. I came out to California in 1970 to start Mazda. And Mazda started from nothing. Within 4 months, we were up and running, and it was, even though in the early days we had a lot of doubting Thomases, we established a nationwide dealer organization, became the 4th largest selling importer within the first 2 years, and stayed there during my tenure. And we accomplished in 2 years what it took Volkswagen, Toyota, and Datsun anywhere from 11 to 14 years to accomplish. John Delorean resigned from GM in March of '73. And then after I resigned from Mazda, I was in Detroit and met with him, and he asked if I'd like it. He was thinking about starting his own car company. You know what I've done? I was talking and I passed the exit. Geez, why don't you go through a part of your presentation?
It's such an exciting concept, and well, I feel that the Delorean car is a property that should not be damaged by advertising. And that's coming from an advertising guy. I hope you know what I'm saying. We're very reluctant to over-advertise the product because then it has a tendency, there is a point, and I don't know where it is, depending on the product, to demean the product. Obviously, I'm a believer.
You have to push it too hard. There must be something wrong.
If you could get away with no advertising and all PR, it would be even better, but you can't. I know that.
Well, I think the most important aspect of that is that we want to control. See, today we've got, at least in the image studies that we've done, we've got a very favorable combination of characteristics, and we've gotten those more accidentally than any other way. So what we need to do is reinforce what we want that's positive. Well, of course, if you're doing straight PR, you can't control that. You know, a lot of times things happen that are beyond your control, and they take you in a direction that you don't want to be. You can be suddenly wind up explaining yourself all the time or defensive, and you don't need it. Of course.
You can't control PR.
Right.
The way we're going right now, if we straighten it around, we can go all the way out. There we go.
Just a little bit, yeah.
All right. Should the mirror passes?
It's all right.
No, I think we're going to...
Now, cut it just a little more. There, oh, that does it. Okay.
What we're asking the public today is to look the car over and give us their evaluation. Do you have a few moments you'd like to spend with us?
Sure.
Do you work for any motor company or any market research or anything conducted with surveys?
No.
Fine. What we'd like you to do is come in, look the car over, sit in the driver's.
They're not for sale. We're just doing an evaluation for the car company. And what it amounts to is taking a look at it and telling us what you think of various features. I'll give you both one so you're not really working together.
What's that
thing on the front, right? The gas tank. That's the access to the gas tank. The engine's in the rear. There's a trunk in the front, and the gas tank is in the front, down low.
The overall exterior appearance ratings, which was their initial reaction to the car, 89% liked it very much or liked it.
I went through and marked on these this morning where we had comparisons with the 1976 study that we did.
My first impression was that we got the lines of the car, the overall lines of the car come out very, very good.
Very high.
Very
Yeah.
strong.
As far as,
But when you start getting down into the details, it deteriorates.
Let's go with the interior then.
Yeah,
Dan.
interior, again, I'd say the biggest problems came as far as visibility and roominess. People, as far as dislikes, lack of visibility was top, but lack of headroom and cramped interior, lack of room.
Listen, we gotta watch your head. We gotta jam up here on the interior.
The gull wing doors were not a bad styling plus. I mean, it's not the highest, but it's in the top 6 items, gull wing doors. They kind of like it.
Watch your head. Watch your head. I'm sorry. Yeah, they're padded for that purpose, but you still don't want to keep banging.
On a total sample of those who were given the $18,000 price for the car, 8% ended up saying that they'd definitely buy the car. When the price went to $24,000, we had 5%, and when we went to the $30,000 price level, only 3%. So there's a sharp drop-off there. I think the consumers would find the price reasonable, say at $28,000, but the number of people that would buy at that price is another story.
Delorean Motor Cars are looking for production foremen for their new car assembly plant at Dunmurry. We will shortly need foremen to supervise those engaged in the assembly operations and in the body press and plastics operations. Applicants should have previous supervisory experience in line assembly work or in the manufacture of plastics or fiberglass. Experience in the car industry would be particularly welcome. If you would like to use your talents and work with Delorean Motors in this exciting project, call for an application form at the plant entrance on the Lisburn Road or on the Stewartstown Road.
Here, shall we call the meeting to order? First item on the agenda is the meeting minutes of the previous meeting. Which Mr. Bailey can find. Are there any matters arising from last month's minutes? Okay, let's move right to the managing director's report. Mr. Bennington?
Nothing major in the area of site development. We are still having problems with the subcontractors on getting them out.
Yeah, what's wrong with it, anyhow?
I think it's a wet winter and they need a home. There isn't much work going on in the north of Ireland, but getting them to just tidy up the last bits and pieces is proving to be a real chore. The architect has been instructed to terminate the managing contractor and get him off-site and as many of the subcontractors as possible by 1st November.
Is there a holdback in your contracts with these guys?
Yes, there is a holdback, John. We are retaining money, a retention clause. But,
you better go ahead and do it.
Yeah. On body press building, it's currently 2 weeks behind schedule, and it does not at the moment impede anything we're doing.
Can I ask why we won't have the infill parts ready in the tooling master? I mean, surely it was part of the master program anyway.
Yes, partly, because
I mean, the
one of the
additional vary
components,
tool has
one of those
slipped
components has
considerably
just, sorry,
week to week. The vary tool that makes those components.
there isn't a vary tool to make those components.
There's supposed to be.
A separate vary tool.
Yeah, was agreed 4 weeks ago. We've been talking 4 weeks ago. It was 3 weeks away.
The only thing that...
And Peter registered a slip last week, and in fact, I think he said last week that it had slipped 2 weeks, but was it minuted?
Yeah, we got a minute saying PH confirmed that the status report on the interim Very Tool program covering components to be molded in waste areas would be passed to GDB or EMC on the 17th. I didn't get it, I don't know whether Ed did or not, but there's supposed to be, theoretically, a complete tool to make up for those lost.
The pattern, the main pattern for that, which can go two ways. It can be used as a separate tool or as an insert. It's one and the same thing. That is being put together at this moment.
We can sit here and discuss this for hours, but we really need a good, long sit down with McCullens and you people and come up with the facts, because if we know the facts, we got a chance of overcoming them. If we don't know the facts, I think we're going to be in a real problem, because it is slipping. Colin, you know, it's been going continuously. We are having a noticeable, continuous slippage on the program right now at Lotus. Now, if we don't get these mold tool masters, there's no way we get into this rapid buildup of 14 sets of mold tools, 8 pieces each, if we can't get the masters. And we're having definite problems on masters, and yet we're not really getting the problem on the table where we can all discuss it and find out what we all jointly have to do about it. But it's each week we come down here, it's another week or 2 weeks. And it's getting to the point now we're running considerably behind on a total volume for the year for the current schedules.
Yeah, I think see, Lotus is only builds about 7 or 8 cars, maybe five a day to as high as 7 or 8 a day. They're all hand built, so if something doesn't fit, they can cut, file, and hack and beat it into shape. You can't do that in a production car; it'll murder you. Delorean, they're figuring out every 2-3 minutes. If the parts don't fit in the work, you're dead.
Well, it worked for what they were doing, which was to make a sports car in low volume and to win races. They're very successful at that.
Put it on the road and they run them, and if they break, they fix it.
If we start making a handmade car, which is what I'm making right now, we can't afford to run.
We've had problems on the upper control arm. We're getting at 150 on the hobby test and rig test at 450 equivalent miles. We're getting cracking of the upper control arm around the ball joint. But we also had a torsion rod failure at 41,000 cycles. Now the rod has been returned to Umbraco, and Grumman are also in the problem to try and find out why. They had cycled this thing, they claim, up in the millions for the results that they furnished us.
That's very serious. What did the failure look like? Somebody at Lotus, some metallurgist take a look at it?
They haven't come up with an opinion that was sent off straight to Umbraco to get them working on it, since it's their product.
We got to get out of Lotus now. What are we going to do to get out of there?
And we have interviews set up with additional people.
We got to set up our own facility somewhere now.
Our principal problem is just a shortage of engineering talent at this location.
Have we assigned somebody to it?
No, we haven't, John. We've been discussing a joint venture with Lotus, and I haven't set up anything to look at Coventry or another location that we might use.
Maybe we should get somebody taking a look at it. Hire an outside consultant. If you don't have time to do it yourself. But let's take a look. You got all these British companies going out of business. They must have facilities coming out of their nose.
Could I turn to this sheet first, please? It's the Contracts of Employment Act 1965, the Terms and Conditions of Employment. A large proportion of you will be unemployed, and you will no doubt have the green slips with you from the Department of Health. Can you, in the course of the next 20 minutes or so, get those filled in? the top half, and if you could write at the top of the sheet what your occupation is, that will help us tie things up.
Well, good afternoon, brothers and sisters. You all look very happy and content, but once you're in here a week or so, well, that will wipe that smile off your faces when you get to see what's in front. But kidding, seriously, we don't want to complicate matters for you here today because you've been here quite a considerable time with the induction. Now, we're simply here to recruit you into the membership of the various unions, or the true unions.
We've had follow-up meetings with Volvo in an effort to resolve the pricing problem. They're still asking for a technical entrance fee. They started out at £390,000. They've now agreed.
I understand why we should pay that. Our contract is with Renault. It's been all along, and it's to come out of that plant. I think this is highway robbery.
I wouldn't disagree with
Now,
you.
why can't we buy the components from the suppliers themselves? Why do you have to buy them from
It's all Volvo tooling. Because Volvo had paid for the tooling, and the vendors will not supply to us. Now, we put it back over in Renault's lap, and Renault disagree with us. They say it's not their responsibility.
Well, that company has got to be losing its shirt making engines when they're running at about 22% of their capacity. We're going to make a very significant contribution to the reduction of the overhead for every one of those guys. And I think they have to understand it from that standpoint. If they're not prepared to do that, then I think we should also make it clear that we're going to start looking for another engine source over a period of time. You know, in 3 years from now, we'll switch to Alpha or someone else, because this is asinine.
Right, lads, well, we'll declare this lunchtime meeting open. And at this stage where we are, where I'm going to report to you on wages, we've tabled a claim many months ago, and I think we're just getting near the crunch time. We think that we can squeeze more out of it. We thought that after the last meeting, but alas, they only moved very slightly. If you were listening to the figures at the last meeting, they have risen now till about, to be precise, your actually annual wage increase only amounts to 6.98%. That's what your annual wage increase. As far as we were concerned on your behalf, we took the liberty of turning it down. We think that there is another stage to go, and nothing attempted, nothing done. So we're still going to attempt to clear this last hurdle. But this hurdle here, we have to formally reject the claim or the award that the management has laid down. So I'm asking from the body of the floor here, a proposer to formally propose and second a rejection of what I've read out to you. You propose rejection, and the name is McGuinness. Brother McGuinness proposes a rejection. Have we a second, sir, for that proposal?
The passive restraint program.
Now, the passive restraint, did you get that information to the states? You know, I don't understand why we're doing this here. The Department of Transportation is willing to fund that program completely, but they've been waiting for information. We've sent you for 4 months. Huh?
2 packets of information have been sent across within the last 2 weeks.
Did Harvey call you? Because I told him to call you if he had not received the package.
No, he did not call me. I'll double check it later.
Put it in a suitcase and give it to me. I'll take it back. Right? This is asinine. We're really embarrassed with the Department of Transportation. They came to us and they said they were willing to give us $3 or $4 million to do this project. And in 4 months, we have not been able to get the information for them. That's really stupid. Go ahead.
A detailed program on EEC homologation requirements is currently being developed together with a parallel program for right-hand drive for the UK market. Indications to the are that the thing will take some 12 to 14 months. The program should be available for review in about 2 weeks' time. The markets in order of
Well, why is it taking 12 to 14 months?
To do the homologation, John, we need to modify the vehicle itself, and then we need to submit it to a series of witness tests.
Well, then you got to set up to retrofit at the port of entry in order to start selling right away. We can't wait 14 months to start selling.
We're looking at the
The other guys, a lot of them do that. They make the minor changes right there in Germany and other places. But I think that's unrealistic. We got to do a hell of a lot better than that. You got to pick the 3 or 4 big markets and go after them. You know, we're looking for substantially more sales than we can get in North America, and this is completely unacceptable. That's got to move ahead, or you're going to get to a spot here before very long when we're going to have to clean this place out. I mean, we're going to have to get down to about 1/3 of the people you're talking about, because you cannot support this kind of overhead with the one car. And we've known that for a long time, and we really have got to keep this moving. No matter where we have to steal the money to do it. It's not a matter of something extra. This is a matter of pure survival.
Martin man, Mike Loseby, the top-class engineer who made a big success of the Lagonda. You were involved in the Lagonda project, the Aston Martin Lagonda project. Do you think is there anything strange or untoward about the launch of this particular car and the teething difficulties that it has had up to date?
Absolutely not. Most people comment about the launching of cars and the teething problems. They speak from ignorance generally. The sort of problems you get in a normal car firm introducing a new car into an existing line are horrific. You've got a new car with a new factory, with a new workforce, in a new country, everything. And we've only been building the factory for 2 years.
So you don't see anything difficult, anything strange about the problems that Delorean Motors have hit?
I see lots of things difficult, but nothing unusual. Let's put it that way.
Well, I think we could make a start. Could you give us a short summary, Sean, please, on the status on parts list definition?
I'm not sure that Mike shouldn't be giving us.
Well, I'm happy for Mike to do it if Mike's better equipped. Yeah, sure.
I don't really know what you mean by a current status. The parts list is complete and the progress is continuing on the finalisation of the standard parts, which it's hoped or expected to be finished this week in conjunction with you.
That's correct.
Yeah, can I?
Will it be? Will it be?
Probably Brian's the better one to answer that.
We anticipate getting everything ready for Monday morning.
I thought we had drawings out on that, Mike. We did have drawings out on it, which we sent to the States, as we said. We had their comments came back and said that we wanted it broken up very much more. The latest sketch was the one we've got now.
Well, my guys can't even get them. So
I'll give you one. I'm cheesed off with this. I will go and get some personal copies.
See, this is yellow light. You take it out in a different light and they look entirely different. I don't think we can do it that way, Chuck.
I'll pick the one that you think is the most logical compromise and have the whole bumper done.
We need a bumper, put it on a car, and we'll take it outside on different conditions and look at it. What's the next darkest one to that's on there? Let's see what that's the next darkest one? How do you feel about that?
Well, I would try the other one.
The one in the middle? Yeah. Is that the middle one?
Yeah. That's what I would do. I'd go ahead and have one painted up that color.
See, the light ones really destroys the whole appearance of the vehicle. We're going to see what we got for you in a
Downtown news at 6 at the news desk, Conor Kavanagh. Bosses at the Delorean Motor Car plant in Dunmurry are to announce major changes in personnel tomorrow.
Delorean President Jean Cafero has flown in to announce that Belfast Managing Director C.K. Bennington is moving to a new job looking after the development of a saloon car which is being designed at the moment in Italy. Giugiaro, the man largely responsible for styling the existing DMC, is working on the drawings at the moment of a four-door saloon which chiefs in America hope will be on the production lines here around the end of 1983.
The last thing Delorean needs are industrial troubles. His schedule is hectic. Already, in an incredibly short time, he has erected an ultra-modern, technologically sophisticated factory. With its emphasis on a quiet, pollution-free work atmosphere, it is a model plant. It's tangible proof of Delorean's concern with environment and his dedication to revolutionizing the car industry from the bottom up. But of course, it costs a lot of borrowed money. And though it's claimed that the first 20,000 cars are pre-sold, not one has reached an intended purchaser. So the money is still going out, and none is coming in.
Belfast Telegraph, January 1981. Delorean Motor Cars has told the government that it needs another £10 million, urgently. The company wants the money to tide it over the next few months until revenue from the sale of their exotic sports cars in the United States begins to flow in. It's understood that without finance...
They had told me that that leak came out of the Department of Commerce. Well, you identified precisely, if you can. Is that some information that you're free to use? Or can we make the allegation without acknowledging the source? I want to go back at them a little bit. I think it's asinine. They got us in a problem here. Yeah, but I think we should put them on notice, because here I am in the middle of this negotiation with this investment banker, and I really don't need that. I need to be able to say that we have clearly defined that this leak came out of the department, and and so on and so on, and that it really was injurious to us. To make the point that the reason we can't secure these, what they want somewhere else is because they keep getting in our way, and it's a very valid point.
Why did you challenge them?
I did. I do it every day. Oh, I said if a guy would come out from hiding under his bed and see what's up there, he might find out, so I have all these pet slogans.
Why don't you invite the Queen? See if she'll come up.
She goes up there once in a while.
The DeLorean is a rear-engine, rear-wheel drive, two-passenger, two-door coupe. It has a V6 aluminum block and heads.
I came in from LA yesterday morning. Helen picked me up at the airport and brought me straight here. And then last night we had to go out for dinner. And tonight we're doing another dinner, and I'm leaving the next morning to go to London. You're having a reception, yes?
Except for seeing on TV once in a while, we don't get
well,
to
I
see
read
much
about
of
you,
that.
so that we can
It has
keep
a top speed of 130 miles per hour, giving a speed performance of 0 to 60 in 8.5 seconds.
Smile, John.
I mean, you must have been aware of a certain amount of criticism in the press.
Well, I think it's very much uninformed. You really, most of the criticism comes from MPs who don't have enough nerve to visit Belfast, much less come in and see our plant. If they saw what we were doing, I think they would understand. In addition to that, as I said earlier, every cent we got from the British government was spent in England in addition to $20 million we raised in the United States. So that when you put that all together, we actually contributed to the British economy much more than we took out of it. In the end, the financial arrangements we've made are such that the government will get all of their money back plus a very, very substantial profit. I don't think they'll get that from British Steel or British Leyland.
At a time when the world
There's a sea. When it comes to the DeLorean sports car, there are no in-betweeners. Since details of the project were announced in August 1978, there's been a constant stream of critics prepared to predict its downfall. They said the 500,000 square foot factory at Dunmurry would never be built. Then they said the Northern Ireland workforce didn't have the experience to assemble a sophisticated sports car. Now they say that car won't sell. There've been critics too of the government's backing for the company to the tune of £67 million. John Delorean remains philosophical about all that criticism.
We've had some kind of criticism right from day one. First, we were never going to get the program together. Then we'd never get the financing. Then we'd never build a plant. And of course, all of those things have been done. Now the critics are forecasting our failure 2 or 3 years from now. So I think as long as you can always keep your failure 2 or 3 years in the future, you're probably going to do okay.
But now comes the most critical period in the company's short history. A stock of cars is being built up for the first shipment to the United States. And soon the final question will be answered. Is there consumer demand for a new sports car? Whatever demand does exist is bound to be stimulated by the American press. Their view of the car could be crucial.
Most of us who came from America to drive it were excited to see it and enthusiastic about it, and it's been great fun.
I've been watching the progress of the car since it was first announced. I've seen the very early design studies, and I think they've done a very nice job improving the look, giving it a more classic sports car look. It's still very aerodynamic at the same time.
The project is about 18 months behind schedule. The company executives admit that the targets they set themselves were just too ambitious. Nevertheless, to build a new car, let alone an entire assembly plant in 2.5 years, is still a massive achievement. By comparison, the development of BL's Mini Metro took 10 years.
Belfast Telegraph, May 1981. During recent rioting around the Twinbrook estate, a petrol bomb was lobbed into portable office buildings at the Delorean site, causing considerable damage. Mr. Delorean said that the factory had not been a target as such and that the incident was a chance event.
Good morning, it's 8 o'clock at the news desk in Johnston. The first batch of 375 Delorean sports cars have arrived in America after an Atlantic Sea crossing. £10 million worth of DMCs rolled off a Japanese-owned freighter at Los Angeles this morning. They're now on their way to the firm's plant at California for a check-over before being prepared for the showrooms.
Now, on the next ship, you know, we were going to send the second shipment to California too.
Oh, I see.
Third ship going to Wilmington. Okay. The next ship is leaving on the 23rd, and it's going to both ports of May. And that'll have somewhere between 350 and 400 cars. The only way to span the gap and get cars to the eastern half of the dealers is to drop about 200 cars off that second shipment in Wilmington. So we're going to have to accelerate the program for the quality port processing. But I'll get back to you, and then I'll talk to you Monday when you're here.
The Times, August 1981. The company which makes Delorean cars in Northern Ireland, backed by £80 million of British taxpayers' money, is to go public in the United States. The proposed flotation values the company at $240 million. Buyers are reported to be queuing up in the United States for the company's futuristic gull-wing DMC12, which sells for as much as $35,000. Mr. John Delorean, the 56-year-old former General Motors executive who single-handed persuaded the British government to put up much of the development cost, owns more than 50% of the company, valuing his personal share, on paper, at $120 million.
You know, in the end, my investment originally of about $4 million and then 7 years of very, very hard work won't pay off for over 10 years. And in the end, you know, I'm going to be 64 years old by that time, so it really doesn't make a lot of difference to me. You don't do a thing like this for the money. You do it because you love doing it.